All right, let's kick things off. I'm really excited about today's customer spotlight session. These sessions are all about connecting with leaders in the renewable industry who are using Scoop as a central operations hub. And it's really a great chance to dive into real world use cases and see how others are getting the most out of the Scoop platform. And today we've got a fantastic two-part webinar. Part one, I will be chatting with Tim Howaldt, co-founder and COO of Solation. I'm going to be asking Tim about their journey, some of the hurdles they've faced, and the wins they've achieved. And then in part two, we're going to get into the nitty gritty and look at Solation's actual Scoop setup. So you're going to get a firsthand look at the workflows and strategies they're using to drive very impressive results. And so by the end of the session, we hope that everyone's going to leave with some new strategies, best practices, and maybe a few ideas on how Scoop can help bring your operations to the next level. With that being said, hello, everyone. My name is Remington Jarvis. I'm the Director of Customer Experience here at Scoop. And I couldn't be more excited about today's session because we're spotlighting one of our European customers for the very first time. I'm joined today by Tim, co-founder and COO of Solation. And Tim and his team have an incredibly unique business model and have shown a knack for identifying market opportunities and seizing them. So it's been amazing to journey alongside and see how they're using Scoop to streamline operations and help propel themselves towards some very ambitious goals. So, Tim, it's amazing to have you here today. We're so inspired by what you and your team have achieved, and I can't wait to hear more about your journey.
Thank you very much, Remy. Great, and thank you for having us, or me in this case, and looking forward to the session.
Absolutely. Okay, before we jump into an interview with Tim, we would like to just take a few minutes to give a quick overview of who we are at Scoop, what we do, and the type of customers we support. So really what we're doing is just trying to set the scene for everyone, make sure we're all on the same page as we get to the interview segment. So I know many of you are familiar with us already, but for anyone joining the first time, this is going to help set the stage. At Scoop, our core focus is on providing a central operations hub. So that's a COH for renewable energy companies. And over the years, we've noticed a reoccurring challenge, which is that companies juggle multiple software platforms. They have spreadsheets and ad hoc email chains to manage everything from their sales process, installations, into ongoing services. And the problem is that these tools don't communicate very well. They cause gaps and misalignments, and you end up dropping things in these workflows. And that's where Scoop comes in. So we've created a central operations hub, that COH, that not only integrates your existing software, but it helps you ditch those clinky spreadsheets and disjointed email threads. Our hub streamlines your internal processes and boosts collaborations with partners and subcontractors, which reduces friction and ensures a smooth flow of information across your whole project lifecycle. So by bridging the divide between field and office teams, a central operations hub ensures everyone has the information they need right when they need it. And it connects the best-in-class tools that our customers already use. It keeps your data up to date and easily accessible for everyone. The final result is less confusion, fewer bottlenecks, and a lot less tension between your teams. Just to give you an idea of our reach, Scoop is currently used in over 250,000 job sites across 8 different countries. Every month, 135,000 work orders are processed through Scoop, and this number keeps growing as our customers scale their opportunities. Those customers range from small teams with 5 to 10 people, all the way up to some very large utility companies with hundreds of technicians in the field every single day. With the Scoop Central Operations Hub, companies can scale seamlessly. It gives you the tools and infrastructure you need to handle more projects and grow confidently. When we first start conversations with potential customers, we often see the same pattern, which is disjointed connections between teams and the tools they use, represented by squiggly lines here on this slide. These lines show the gaps between your internal teams and missed connections and external partners. And the result is this disconnected system that creates errors. It missed handoffs and incomplete data that slows down your projects and drives up your costs. Another common issue is over-reliance on a few key individuals who hold all of the project details in their heads. And as the workload increases, these people quickly become overwhelmed and your company hits a growth ceiling. Our central operations hub changes the game by bringing everything, your teams, tools, and processes into one orchestrated system. And it's not just a big data dump. It's a smart role-based platform where everyone can see exactly what they need to get the job done. So, for example, a field tech will only see information relevant to the task they're working on that day. A designer will have access to all the project specs they need to do their job. And the best part is we automate the transitions between these tasks, which means we notify the right people at the right time, tracking project progress every single step of the way. This eliminates bottlenecks, it keeps everyone accountable, and it helps your team work as a cohesive unit, minimizing errors and boosting efficiency. So the last thing I'm going to say before we bring Tim back into the room here is we'll have a Q&A session at the end of today's webinar. So please feel free to drop any questions into the chat during this session. These can be questions about Scoop as a platform or to Tim about his business. We'll do our best to get through them all at the end. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and enough about Scoop. We're all here and we want to get to the good stuff. So again, Tim, huge thank you for being here today. It's great to have you with us. And let's start with a quick introduction. Can you tell us a bit about yourself, the role at Solation, and give everyone a snapshot about the company?
Yeah, of course. Again, thanks for having me. And obviously also welcome to all the other webinars or webinar participants. So yeah, maybe let's start about me. So about me, without a lot of things to mention. So I started in consultancy basically, and then co-founded in 2023 with two partners, the company Solation. The two co-founders are Sebastian Hugel and Max Zeuke. Okay, they are very German names. You don't need to, you don't need to remember them. So we started with Solation, and basically that's a Munich-based startup. And what we are trying to do is we trying to partner with local craft businesses and offer green energy solutions. Our business model is not that common, maybe, especially for the German market, because we are focusing on multi-tenant houses. So we are not focusing that much on single-tenant housing. And also, did evolve a patented or patent process for that, which gives us a little bit of a special position that we have in the German market right now. Sorry, cold is kicking in. This is how we are focusing the German market, because obviously what we see, at least in Germany, and I think also in other countries quite a lot, is that the residential market is already quite played. There are a lot of PV plants on the roofs already, but when you look into cities or on multi-tenant houses, basically there's more or less nothing happening right now. And for example, in Germany, 53%, which is quite high rate of the people, are living as a renter. Yeah, so they are living for rent. And obviously they are not able to use PV power plants in their flats right now. Yeah, so that's the one game. The other game obviously is also to go into the commercial market, so meaning all the multi-tenant houses with offices, small businesses. So this is where we are focusing on. In that, in Germany, there was basically a regular change, which happened early this year, which enabled our business model. So since then, we are trying to make the life for landlords easy to sell their solar energy in their houses. Yeah. So basically, it's a reselling model of PV energy. Yeah, basically that's it. What are we doing in that? So we are basically renting, for example, roofs on the one hand side to build our own power or our own PV plants on it. Meaning we are planning the whole thing, we are installing the whole thing, and we are also taking care of distributing the energy in the houses, and also do the billing for the tenants in the house. And then again, making the life for the landlords easy, so that they are having their revenue share with us, because at the end, obviously, it's their roof and their tenants.
Okay.
Well, financially, with that, we can basically achieve something which is not as common in the residential market. We can have quite good break evens with our PV plants, which is under 6 years, under 4 years. So that's quite atypical when you look into residential market, and makes this model quite interesting. And that's on the one hand side. On the other hand side, what you obviously also do, you have some community impact to like the people who are living in the flat. They can buy cheaper green energy. And also we give opportunities to donate surpluses of solar power. So if you generate too much, which you always do in summers, you can donate this power to like social or public institutions.
That's cool. Okay. So cool to hear. To maybe summarize and say it back, the residential or the typical solar market in Germany kind of already has a lot of solar panels installed. But when you look at multi-tenant, you go into the cities where people are living in flats and condos, and businesses. There's this amazing opportunity to utilize their roofs, but then sell that power to their tenants. So they get the opportunity to make some cash, essentially. They rent their roof to you, then they're able to sell that power to their tenants. And their tenants are able to purchase solar power, green energy at an affordable rate. And it's kind of a win-win for everyone involved. Is that kind of summarizing it?
Exactly, that's what we are aiming for. And obviously there are also other models, not only that we are renting with the roof, but also that, for example, we sell and lease back a PV plant. Yeah, there are different ways, but at the end, it's exactly what you said. We want to generate a win-win-win situation for everyone.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I kind of mentioned like that ability to target a need in the market, right? And identify and say, the traditional PV market or residential market tapped out, but here is just such a market need. The legislation changed in, I think you said 2023, or was it 2024? Like legislative change happened, and ready to go and just capitalize on that, and make a win-win for everyone. I love that. Okay. With that in mind, can you tell us a bit about your operations and how you manage those before bringing Scoop in? Because I know we've kind of come in probably about halfway through your journey here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as I mentioned, or as you also mentioned, it is based on a governmental change or regulatory change. So before, we also did a lot of residential houses to also learn about the market. What we used there as a project management tool was basically a tool that is called Quest. Probably you would not know it. It's German based, and also right now out of the market already. But this is the operations tool we used for all our projects. And obviously, then at one or the other point, we figured out that it's not the right tool anymore. That's basically where we used like the whole project management for customer relations. So the classic CRM, we used Monday.com, and we still use it. And this is basically how we managed it. Yeah. Obviously, what we did a lot is And what is also something we try to reduce is a lot of like talking with partners, talking with clients, talking with our distributors. So like really taking your mobile to the hand and talk to them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. So you had Quest on the project management side, Monday as the CRM, partnered together as a kind of solution there. And do you mind sharing why maybe that wasn't cutting it for you? What were the challenges that you faced that made you say we need to go and look for our next platform solution?
Yeah. So basically, we had a whole list where the tool was not sufficient anymore. I think the biggest reason to start with that is that with growing demand in the market, so with more installations coming into our pipeline, we more and more became aware that the tool is not scalable. And what does that mean? That means, for example, when you look, for example, from a management point of view on it, there was no overlook anymore on, you were not able to oversee what is happening in which installation, where are we, and where are the things happening where we need to pay attention on. So we really had issues with that, and figured out, okay, most certainly we need to switch our gears here in the operations, to basically keep speed in the market, right? Because
Mhm.
we were starting to fall behind our ambitions on our speed level of installations. And that's obviously not good, right? Speaking especially only about tooling, right? So yeah, the points we had are multiple. Maybe I can mention some. We had basically data stored in multiple locations, so not one single source of truth, which made it very hard to manage the projects because you were searching for data all the time. You had limited options for date settings, and you had no mandatory fields really. So you had just fields, and that's it. We had really performance issue with data access. So especially when we put a lot of pictures into our projects, which is obligatory for documentation, the performance really became bad. And yeah, I think that's just to mention some. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay. So, juggling lots of moving parts, thinking about growth, right? And we kind of mentioned that when you're small or starting off with just a couple projects, it can kind of live in your head and everyone knows where everything is. But when you start
Yeah.
thinking, what about when we grow and do double or triple this? How do we in management get a view, see everything in its current status, as well as have bubble to the surface where the issues are, find where we need to pay extra attention, and then just kind of, to interpret what you're telling me, a bit of lack of confidence of like, hey, in a couple of years when we need it, this tool may not work for us.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And also when you look into the future and think and talk about what automations can be done, in which direction can the tool lead us, and yeah, that was where we were seeing some issues. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, makes sense. So sounds like growing project volume really highlighted that need for a change. So when it became clear that this wasn't sustainable, uh, what was the process to explore and look for your new solution? And what made Scoop the right fit for you?
Mhm. So the process basically started with, okay, we recognized that the tool is not scaling anymore sufficiently with us. So we started by basically to get us an overview. Okay, what is out there on the market? Because we did this in the very beginning, yeah, but obviously we learned a lot in that time,
Yeah.
and also the tools evolved a little bit. So we got ourselves an overview, okay, what might be the right fit for us. So we also had a look not only into tools which are PV or photovoltaic specific, but also, for example, other tools which were like more managing construction sites, for example.
Got it. Yeah.
Because we started at the beginning with more residential PV installations. So also our necessity to switch to bigger construction sites led us to the decision, okay, we need to look also in some other tools maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So that's where it started, and then basically it's the normal flow. Yeah. So we started to get some evaluations about all the tools, and interviewed obviously the different vendors. So we did with Scoop obviously, and did an evaluation which might be the best fit for us.
Yeah. Make sense. Love it. Okay. I mean, sounds like you did your homework. You had a thorough evaluation process. And then kind of, Scoop stood out in terms of probably the ability to customize. And then again, kind of what we mentioned earlier, that high level overview, that ability to see a lot of projects moving along, everything from small residential projects, but as you're looking in the future and saying, we need to be going in commercial, we need to be doing these bigger projects. How do we see all of these in a way that makes sense? Once you made your decision, what was it like getting started with Scoop? I mean, I know I'm always part of a lot of these meetings, but I always, want to ask the question, see it from someone else's perspective. Can you walk us through what that onboarding experience was like, and then how your team adapted to using a new solution when you made that switch?
Yeah. I mean, that was something which I personally, no, let's put it that way. I appreciated really the way how Scoop started it off, but not only when we made the decision already in the beginning, before we made the decision, because Scoop was all the time very open, and yeah, we always had contact, and you were open for questions, which helped us a lot, honestly. And that also continued later on. Yeah. So when we made the decision, it was really easy, really pleasant to have contact with you. You were very helpful with everything. When we started our first implementations, you were there, helped us in online sessions, obviously in online sessions because we are sitting in Germany. So that was really great. So that we managed actually to make our first steps on our own quite quickly, to be honest. So you were a good support there. I really have to admit that, and also that continues in what we are doing now, right? Because new features are released. There are new stuff coming in Scoop, and I'm always happy that you help us, that we can also make use of those features, which are cool, which is cool stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like that, honestly.
Yeah, we love it. Okay, I'm glad to hear it. I mean, I wasn't personally involved in the onboarding, so I know those guys. Also, the feedback I got from our team that was working with Solation was all extremely positive. They really appreciated how professional your team was, and there was a lot of future thought. Right, it wasn't just about building today. Your team was always kind of thinking about like, but the next step. What about a year from now? How are we going to scale? So I know all the feedback we got from our team was similar. It seems like it was a fantastic partnership through that onboarding.
That's good to hear.
So you've been up and running now for a while. What's the overall impact of using Scoop? Now that we're kind of through the nitty-gritty and the build stage,
Yeah.
and your team are using it on a day-to-day basis, how's it going? How's this impacted your business?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that comes down like a little bit to the bare numbers now, right? Because we also are, I think we also claimed it in the webinar title. So what was really impressive is that we reduced our errors of our project. So the quality went up quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That has multiple reasons, and I will actually quite impressive, to be honest. And that's mostly because the planning quality went up very much. And that's like now after 6 months, I think, being up and running with Scoop. So that's already quite good. And then at the same time, we managed to or we are managing more projects at the same time than we did before, which is also obviously because of the quality which improved, because you all know when how do you say, when shit is hitting the fan, yeah,
Yeah.
that costs a lot of time for the project managers, and that's what you not want to have, right? So when you're improving your quality, your planning quality, obviously you get also more time to do more projects at the same time. And this is basically how we increased our project volume by 1.5 times roundabout in 6 months, which is quite good, I think. Yeah, I think that's like in bare numbers what we have achieved. What we also have achieved is, for example, more easy documentation, because stuff is already in one system. You don't have the performance issues. You can just generate the documentation. So this is saving time, and obviously also saving nerves from our project managers.
Yeah. So cool, Tim. I mean, I love it. I love getting down to the nitty-gritty numbers as well. A lot of the time it's hard to calculate and get it down to such a specific percent, but so helpful to see. And I think what's really impressive in this is it wasn't just the ability at Solation, the team you did and the work your team did bringing Scoop in to reduce the amount of errors, but to reduce that while increasing the amount of projects. That's a whole different feat. That's incredible. So just fantastic. Congratulations on your team part. It really, the work shows. So now next question. Love asking this of my customers. What's next for you guys, right? You're a fast growing company. You mentioned you have your ambitions, and when you're looking at your pace you're growing, you want to keep that pace. What's on the horizon for your company? And how do you anticipate Scoop? Maybe the second part of that is, how do you anticipate Scoop helping
Yeah.
you achieve that?
Well, so as we mentioned already in the beginning, right, we are also, with the Scoop implementation, we started to pivot our business model. So we went away from residential more into the multi-tenant houses. So what our goal is that we want to provide energy for over 1 million tenants until 2023. So sorry, 2030.
Yeah.
2023 would be already in the past. So that's our major goal, that tenants like 1 million plus are getting energy from our power plants or from our PV plants. And obviously with that, we also want to increase or being the point of contact for every landlord when it comes to PV plants on multi-tenant houses. So we want to get the #1 in Germany, and that's our plan. Yeah, obviously that's ambitious, yes, but I think we are on a quite good track on that, and it's a super interesting market. Yeah.
I love it. That's
Yeah.
that's cool. I love the ambition. We're right here with you and looking forward to just continuing partnering with you to achieve that goal. Okay, that was part one, which was a Q&A where you and I have this chat. I think maybe it's time we get into part two. A lot of people join these webinars because they just love seeing Scoop accounts. They love seeing kind of your system and maybe the take that you approached it with, what you've built, and different areas where you see value, Tim. So particularly as an executive, we've kind of talked about different areas where you needed a tool to give you that overview, see all your projects, see everything that was going on. So if you're open to it, maybe we can open up Scoop and you can show us a little bit of the Solation account.
Absolutely. So let me quickly share my screen. You should be
There
able
we
to see
go.
it now.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, just let me get this over to my other screen that I'm not
Yeah.
looking next to my camera. Okay, so maybe to give you a little glance into Scoop, how it looks, or how we configure this for us. So main overview, maybe to start with that. So everything is in German, so don't be confused. For all the Scoop
Right.
users out there, you probably know what the different things are meaning, but yeah, obviously it's a German. So this is the overview page, and this is where what we are basically using for our management weekly. So what we lacked before, as I mentioned, is, hey, where are our critical projects? Where are our critical tasks? Where are things popping up that we need to pay attention to? And this is how we use this page here to get a first overview. Okay, how is the status of our projects? So as an example, on the very right bottom corner, you see that that we still have open tasks that need to be done that are overdue. So this already is a sign, okay, something potentially needs to be done there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this helps us a lot to get a first glance. Okay, where are we? Are our projects rather on track or rather off track? And this helps us a lot to get a first overview and to not go into every nitty gritty detail into every project, but rather have a first
Yeah.
glance. Okay, there we are.
Yeah, you don't have to open up 20 like spend time going through each one. You can just say, take me straight to whatever's overdue so I can
Yes.
address.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we plan to use this even more in the future, but we are already using it quite a lot, and it's a good management overview. Quite simple, so easy to use.
Yeah, love it.
Good. Then jumping to the next view, which we use most, is the projects view. Same again, it's everything in German, so sorry
Yeah.
for that, but Germans stick to that German. That's
I
how
love
it
it.
is.
Yeah, that's all right. As you said, I think a lot of
Yeah,
us spend enough time in Scoop that we
yeah.
understand looking at.
So exactly. What you see here mainly is our different phases, how
Mhm.
we separate our projects, which is basically, and I will come to a little bit more detail for every phase. So the first one is the handover from sales to operations. The next one is the planning phase, so where we start to get the technical planning done and also schedule the installation with our partners. Then we have our installation itself, our documentation on the right side, and then obviously at the very end you see close ones. They are getting archived, so that's why it's empty.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we are also closing installations. So maybe first off, starting a little bit with the handover phase. This is potentially one thing where we had a lot of room of improvement in the past, and where we improved a lot. Why?
Mhm.
Because what we have achieved here is basically or are basically overviews where sales reps can work and give the information of the client directly into our tool. And obviously, when you look into that, you have this DVOT, which basically means digital on-site visit,
Okay.
which sometimes also is an on-site visit. But anyways, so when you go into that, you obviously always have like mandatory fields. So sales reps are really there or asking the question, asking the customers for pictures and or taking pictures themselves, so that all the information about the building is already in the system. Yeah. So that it's noted down not on like some kind of tablet or piece of
Yeah.
paper or whatever, but it's in the system, so it's not getting lost. And this is the one part. The second part is, as operations, we can define what information is actually needed from the sales
Yeah.
reps, so that we can do a proper planning. Yeah,
So no more project coming down the pipe that are you're missing pieces of information and the whole thing's delayed right at the start, trying to go back
exactly.
and get what you need.
Yeah, this, I mean, from our point of view, this helps a lot. And obviously, this also helps to reduce client touch points. Because obviously, clients, they want to have the PV plant, yes, but they don't want to be too involved, right? So if you call them every 5 minutes, no, I forgot about that information,
Yeah.
that's not how you should do it, right? So we try to get the information together when you are talking, when you are there talking with the client, get the information together and hand it over to operations as soon as it's closing.
It's a much better customer experience than, a week later calling them and asking them for something again, right? That kind of gives a certain feeling to a customer of disorganization. But
Yeah,
here, you're organized, you get it all in one go, and you're ready to run the project.
absolutely. Absolutely. By the way, you can see it when I switch tabs, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, very good. So this is what what really helped us a lot, and also helped sales a lot, to be honest. One other thing that this was supporting in is that in the beginning, sales was basically, and that's how sales is doing their job, and that's okay, right? They start to sell or to give away what they are actually able to sell. And
Yeah.
what we needed to have is more like a strict guideline of, okay, that's a go, that's a no go. And this actually helped us to get the no goes out early.
Got it. Yeah. Makes sense.
Exactly. So that's maybe a little bit on the sales side. Now, what we can do is basically, after having all the information, we can also keep sales accountable, that the information is right. We can keep sales accountable of having the information noted down. If it's not in here, it doesn't count. So that's a single source of truth for every information, for every picture. So now that we already have sorted out our no-goes, which helps a lot to do the planning right, now it's getting over to the planning actually.
Mhm.
And where here are the most benefits we have from Scoop, and maybe I can also jump into that. Obviously, is that we have the information in here, and then also can go step by step. And maybe let me show you how we build this up. You can go into the planning step by step and get the information done like in the right order. So meaning not planning, for example, for example, the under construction before you even know if which roof type it is, what roof information you need.
Yeah.
So basically, how we are guiding through this is that we have separate steps in here. And in the steps, you collect the information. Like, for example, in here, obviously, again, there are mandatory information, there are non-mandatory information. And when you are done with one step, for example, you are done with the under construction, what you can do is like fulfill the step and go to the next workflow, which lets you request the partners, right? Which is obviously the next step, not the step
Yeah.
before you do the planning, because first off, you need to get the whole planning right.
Yeah, so you've layered in these mandatory fields, right? We can't have you bring in the partner until we have the information we need. And then once we bring in the partner, we have the next fields that we need at this part of the project. So you don't kind of end up with that confusion of someone bringing in a partner who maybe can't handle that job
Correct.
because we didn't know exactly what we were doing at that point.
Correct. What we also did is, which saves us a lot of time, is that we connected with this workflows. We connected automations. So meaning if you typed in an information or uploaded a file with the whole design, which is like checked and bulletproof, that with the next workflow step, this gets sent out to our partner, for example, let's call it the DC partner, and they can check it through and say, all right, that looks good. I would like to take this opportunity to install it, and also have all the information right at hand. What we did not have, or what we did not implement yet, is that partners are really part of the platform, to be honest, because that was our step 2. We first wanted to improve our planning before we also get our partners involved into Scoop, but that's basically planned for next year, right? So
You're still, but very cool because even though they're not in the platform, you're still able to use the platform automations to bring them in, keep them updated, share with them the relevant information as you
yeah,
go, as opposed to, having to do that manually when you get to a certain stage of trying to remember, I now need to go email the planning documents over to the partner.
yeah. Yeah, and this is how we manage not only our external partners, but also our internal workflows.
Mm.
So, for example, billing to the client should not get done by operations in our point of view. So, with this notifications or with this automations, we also include finance into the process, for example. So that finance then need to upload, for example, the bill into Scoop, and then it gets sent out to the client. Yeah. So that operations is not responsible for everything, which should not be an operation scope. And
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, that sounds maybe obvious, but in the past, without having these workflows and these automations, operations did all of this. So meaning they spend a lot of time on stuff which shouldn't be in the responsibility of operations. So they were not able to focus on the right thing.
Yeah. Because it's kind of like if your platform can't inform other teams or bring those other teams in to do the work that they need to do, it ends up just sitting the people who have access to that platform to do everything. Whereas this
Yeah,
way, you're able to kind of design it and say, okay, it's time to bring in finance. I need them to come into Scoop. We're going to tell them this project's at a certain milestone, send the invoice, and then they're going to bring that back in when the time's ready.
totally, totally. Yeah, and that enables a lot. And I mean, Scoop is like in the overviews and in how you manage your projects quite easy to get. So also not only for operations, but also when our finance colleague is coming in, he knows, okay, I had to prepare the bill for the client, which is called Güssner in this example, and knows where to upload the bill, and then it's there and done. So,
Yeah.
and then with the next workflow step, it is automatically sent out to the client.
Yeah. And you in management, you're also able to see, right? If you ever want to say, hey, did Gustner pay the bill yet? Clear access because you have this clean process, which is it doesn't exist if it's not in Scoop. So add the bill, add the invoice, and we're good to go.
Absolutely. Yeah. So exactly, coming back to this overview screen here. So this is where we put the most of the brain work in right now, because that
Mhm.
was the piece where we have focused on on the first step. Installation, as mentioned, what we did not yet do is include our partners here. So as said,
Mhm.
this is planned. This is why this installation phase right now, there are some steps, for example, collecting documentation, stuff like this. Yeah, so collecting basically, for example, here collecting photos of the installation from our partners. And as you can see, we also have, for example, some fields in here already, which are preparation for the next step that our partners are getting onboarded here, so that they can
Yeah.
upload it themselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
But to be honest, this uploading function and like simple overview of what photos you need helps us to generate a simple documentation then in the last step, to be honest. That really improved how we worked before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
like I'm as we're doing this, I really like what stands out to me is on the left hand side, there's not a lot of detail there, but as it makes its way through the board, I can see more and more detail getting filled out until documentation, everything's
yeah,
exactly where it needs to be. So I thought that was a fun little, description of as the project goes, right? We have our DC install. I'm guessing that's an install date. Our AC installation, it kind of gets filled out until by the end, so you can see as well the important details and what's missing before it moves to the next step.
totally. Yeah, absolutely. One little detail we also use in our dailies in operations. So we have daily calls where we walk through the projects and where we basically talk about obstacles, for example, and lesson learned. We use the supercards quite a lot. The supercards are like a quick glance of every project, right? So what we are doing here is mainly documenting, hey, what are our next to-dos? So here there are
Yeah.
not many, but we are walking through the projects and see, okay, what are to-dos? And for example, when I go into the daily ops and say, okay, project Howaldt, I have a project, a problem in there. I can mention it, and we can talk about how we get this resolved. On the one hand side, and also we are documenting in every project our lessons learned for every section. So meaning in the planning, in the handover, and whatever, we are documenting, okay, what did happen or what went good, what went not so good. So that we can go back, and if there is a problem occurring, we can go back to the lessons learned and see, okay, that was the issue we faced back then, so that we can use the mitigation like we did it the last time.
What an amazing, so first of all, like kudos to you. What an amazing corporate culture that you're building over there of, every single project, we're going to look at our lessons learned and what we can do better. And I think now we're starting to really see the big picture of how you've managed to reduce those operational errors so much, right? Because you're able to sit down at the end of every project, take a look at what could have been done better, and then use, I'll pat Scoop on the back here, use such a flexible tool like Scoop to make those changes easily as you go. So every single project, you're just kind of tightening everything a little bit better, making things a bit better every single project that you go. So as you progress, it's always going to just make things easier for you. What a great, you know, um, partnership between like a culture that you're building and your team as well, sitting down with you to like go through that and look at those errors and find out what you can be doing better.
Yeah, no, I'm totally glad about this as well, that we have such a strong team also living this open culture, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is a lot of fun. So and there is also, obviously, with every project you're doing, there's a lot of things to learn, especially now coming back to the switch of our business model. So what we did is, obviously you can't have all commercial, like multi-tenant houses, into the same process like a residential project. So obviously we created other processes for the different type of projects. So what you can see is residential projects, obviously, and then commercial projects are all our bigger projects, meaning I think everything over 40 kilowatt peak, and like up to, I think, 400 or something is our biggest project right now. So this gives us the opportunity to have an overview in here of all our projects, but also filter out specific projects, for example, like only the residential projects. And as you can see now, during our pivot of the business model, we have still some in the planning, which is not a lot. There's no project in the handover anymore, so this will stop quite soon. While in the commercial area, there are quite a lot which are rather in the beginning. So this is what we did here. What we also did, for example, is a service section. So meaning when people are coming back with issues, then we are tracking this in a service section in here. So we have a specific project type, which is service. And this obviously is also part of the operations that we need to manage those projects and get those PV plants back running, right?
Yeah, because then so I'm assuming here for your, because you mentioned daily meetings, right, to go over all of your projects, being able to use this this toggle to say, great, let's look at the residential ones. Let's see, okay, if they're a bit further down the pipe, what do we need to close these off? What new
Exactly.
service has started that maybe we need to pay attention to, or what's lagging behind, and then
Hmm.
quickly back over to that commercial for, this new area of opportunity for your business. Being able to pull all of those into one view, while also making sure that they're unique, right? They don't follow the same process. They don't follow the same flow.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool to see how you've used this.
Yeah. And then maybe last but not least, I can give you a little glance in what we are planning. Obviously, I already talked about integrating partners, but what we are also planning when we are looking into the commercial piece, so into the multi-tenant houses, we are planning a separate process, or indeed overall three processes. So commercial on the one hand side is where we are installing ourselves with obviously with partners our PV plant. Then a second one would be where we are buying in capacity to plan the plant, but we still have our scoop to track those
Okay.
track those projects. And then the third one will be no installation at all, which is rather about changing the local hardware to enable the counting of the energy of the PV plant and distributing it to the tenants,
Okay.
which is
Yeah.
sounds a little bit odd, but in Germany this is quite a thing because you need to take some regulatory steps before you can actually do that for every project, which is quite a hustle, and that's why we have a separate project type and process for that.
So that's those multi-tenant buildings that maybe already have PV plants on them. And now, because of this regulatory change, those landlords are allowed to start selling that to their tenants. And of course,
Um,
you've got this big picture, and you can come into the existing. Is the idea here? These are these existing systems that you're able to convert over.
Yes, I mean the process at the end is for both, for the one we install and for the one which are already existing. But
Okay.
yeah, overall you're right. Yes, you can switch existing PV plants over to the new model, and instead of which is common in Germany, giving everything to the grid, you can start to distribute it and sell it in the multi-tenant houses. Yeah.
Love it. And what an amazing opportunity for you guys. The right place, the right time, with this experience already under your belt.
Yeah.
I love that idea. You're keeping an eye open for that next step, and the opportunities in front of you. Very cool. This has been absolutely amazing. I've thoroughly enjoyed both the interview portion, hearing about Solation and kind of how you grew the business, and now looking at the account. And as I said, kind of I think what I'm really taking away is an amazing culture you've built over there at Solation, that has enabled you to use the right technology. That constant feedback cycle, I love. I'm so excited. And I think a lot of our customers may take that away, of that ability of, at every project, having the fields or the area to document. I know that's probably a culture you spent a long time creating at Solation, of being able to get people to provide open and honest feedback, so you can get better, and then using the tool that lets you make those adjustments. And I think as I think about the next couple years of your journey, and that 2030 goal of 1 million tenants, this is absolutely the path to it. Constant feedback, constant adjustment, identifying areas of the market, and making sure you have the right technology to be able to capitalize and adjust quickly. So cool. So thank you so much, Tim. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're very busy, so being able to sit down with us and share your Scoop account has been absolutely amazing. We'll continue to follow up with questions on the outside, but yeah, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys. It was a great pleasure. So thanks for having me, and talk to you soon anyways,
Talk
huh?
to you soon. All right, Tim. Thank you. Thanks everyone for joining as well. What a pleasure. Bye now.
Bye.